See, newspaper reading has been one of the biggest challenges for any student aspiring to prepare for any competitive examination. See, when you are preparing for a banking examination, the way you look at newspaper is completely different. When you are preparing for a groups related examination, the way you look at the newspaper is completely different. But when you are preparing for UPSC in particular, the way you look at the newspaper completely changes. Why this change? Why this change of approach itself in the first place when you read a newspaper? What to read, what not to read? See, newspaper has always been a question of debate in the UPSC circles. In the first place, is it required to read a newspaper? So, why my teacher, my guru, whom I used to be a student of, he always used to say, Oberoi, if you do not read the newspaper, these are the disadvantages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And he always had the courage to say, you may score well in UPSC without reading a newspaper even one day also. You may get first rank also. But in the process, you have not developed some skills which become your base of your knowledge awareness. It will not give you any, you will not be able to take any stand on any issue. Say for example, nowadays Nupur Sharma has become very, overnight she has become a star. Frankly speaking, I didn't know who she was 2 days before. When the controversy started, that is when I realized that she happens to be the spokesperson for BJP. So now one wrong statement by one person belonging to one political party which is ruling the country today has got such a repercussion that now one section of the world community is asking for an official apology by the country, not by the government, by the country. They are saying India as a nation should apologize to the Muslims across the world for making such a statement. So just imagine a small mistake by one person belonging to a political party, what kind of repercussions it has. But if you do not read a newspaper, just know the news. Now if I say she committed a mistake, now if I ask you what are the constitutional safeguards, what is defamation, what is religiously induced defamation, defamation used as a platform to entice intolerance in a particular section of a society, whether that society happens to be majority, whether that society happens to be minority, what are the constitutional safeguards provided, what is the constitution saying about it, what is the IPC saying about it, what is the CRPC saying about it, all these dimensions. See, that's what I said, day one, we are not bothered with the news. We are bothered with the issue behind the news. In this case, what is the issue? What is the issue in this case? See, will you ask China to give condemnation or written apology for whatever is happening to the Uyghurs in China? Why such demand has, US also knows what's happening in China. Uyghurs के साथ क्या हो रहा है, what's happening to Uyghurs in China, the world knows, yes or no? Why the world is silent there and why the world has suddenly risen here? What is the difference? Because the world accepts that this country is a autocracy. उसको कुछ बोल के फायदा नहीं है. There is no point asking him to apologize because he will in the first place not acknowledge that something else has happened, and in the second place even if it happens he will just not say anything. China till today has not apologized on any international platform, whether it is a small apology or a big apology. आज तक उसने किया नहीं है, किसी की हिम्मत भी नहीं हुई. Nobody dared even to ask China to apologize on any statement issued by them. In the first place, they will not issue any statement. Even if the statement is issued, it will not come in the newspaper. So there is no question of apology. So, but why suddenly, when a small statement, though the statement may not be small, one statement by one state representative representing the government in the center, why so much of international repercussions? Why? Because you are a, if you have seen that news, we will come to that news. Why I am saying all this is, as a UPSC, as a group 1 aspirant, you have to be bothered behind the issues, behind the news. News is not important to us. News is important to group 3, group 4, bank exams, clerical grade exams and all. But you are very concerned with the issues that is happening behind the news. So this particular session orients around why it is important to read the newspaper, and the end we'll talk about how to read the newspaper. Okay? So why it is important to read the newspaper? Is it a must? As I told you, yes. If you want to over a period of time develop an opinion, see what is the difference between news and opinion? एडिटोरियल है, एडिटोरियल नाम सुना है, एडिटोरियल नाम सुना है. न्यूज़पेपर का जो सेंटर वाला हिस्सा है, इट इज एडिटोरियल. जनरली दिस इज द ट्रेंड. द सेंटर पेज ऑफ एनी न्यूज़पेपर इज द editorial, right? Why it is the center page always? There are reasons, some technical, logical reasonings behind it. We will not get into that. Now, why the editorial is always in the center of the page? I said keep it aside. Now, something which has come in the center of the page, it means that it is the opinion of the editorial team of that particular publication. It means that the editorial team believes in what they are writing and they will support their writing with authenticity. You see, whenever an editorial comes in Hindu, Indian Express, Live Mint or anywhere, they will try to authenticate what they believe to be right. And that is the reason why, there is a reason why the editorial always comes on the left side. Anybody? Why the editorial comes on the left side of the newspaper? Why it is not on the right side? What could be the reason? What could be the reason? What could be the reason? Why editorial? All across all publications, editorial is always on to the left, OPED is on to the right. What is OPED? OPED is, Sandhya, tell you are right. Opposite to editorial. Okay. Now, why the editorial in the left side in the first place? Anyone? Left side? Left side in the newspaper is generally neglected. Yes, that's the reason why you see always the classified sections coming onto the right. And the cost of advertisement in the right side of the newspaper is much more higher than advertising on the left side of the newspaper. That is fine. That is from the advertisement point of view. Now my question comes back, why the editorial is on the left side of the newspaper? Because it is not right. ऐसा मत बोल यार, दुकान बंद हो जाएगी. See, whenever somebody is reading a newspaper, if he is a person who is seriously reading the newspaper, he will come to the left of the newspaper. It means that which part, ma'am? जो first में जो भी headings रहते हैं, main जो first में रहता ना, first page पे. So that is right side. उसका second part left page. Need not necessarily. Need not necessarily. जो continued आप बोल रहे हो, last में जो आता है, continued on page so and so. Yeah. See, she's got the logic somewhere right. She says, whenever a main article, there is not enough space for the main article, complete representation of that article on the front page, they say continued on page so and so, so and so. It is generally seen that this content comes on the left side of the newspaper only, generally, not always, but yes, most of the time. The reason why is because only a serious person who is seriously reading that content of that news article on the first page, he only will go there and read. The advertisement agency is somehow forcing you to read everything which is on the right side because of your nature, that things on the right attracts your eyes very fast. So they want to keep that for those sections or columns which will attract more readership, so that the continuity in that reading is established. But when it comes to left page, people who are religiously following that newspaper will only come on to the left page and read that article. They are the serious viewers of that particular newspaper. That's how when you open the newspaper, you just glance through the left but you stop on the right. That is human tendency to see what is in the right side of the newspaper more than the left side of the newspaper. The reason why the editorial is kept there is because he knows as such you will come on to the left side to read that editorial column. That's the reason why the editorial always comes on the left side. Only serious readers will read that particular. At max, people will read the headlines. If UPSC tomorrow stops writing, putting UPSC what you call examination, I think Hindu will have to close the shutters, because people read Hindu newspaper just because they are preparing for a particular examination. Otherwise, people may not read. So that is the reason why it is a must if you want to develop a opinion. See, when you will prepare for the competitive examination that you are aspiring for, a day will come when you regularly read newspaper. By seeing the article in the first glance, you can make up whether this article is inflated against the government or for by the government. You will start critically analyzing the content of the article. Initially, you are looking at the content of the article, but gradually when you start reading the newspaper for a prolonged period of time, 6 months, 8 months, 1 year, 2 years, then you will start building your own opinion. When you say, okay, this article is unnecessarily speaking against the government utni buri bhi nahi hai. So you try to justify your own, because by that time you have developed your own thinking process. So the person who is reading the newspaper for the first day, he cannot critically analyze the article. At max, he can only derive the content from the article. So if you want, because UPSC, all this right from GS1 to GS4, it is indirectly seeking what? Your opinion. So that is the reason why reading newspaper becomes extremely important. Okay? So from my side, it is a must, but need not always be necessarily a must. Okay? And how the newspaper reading helps? Most important advantage of reading a newspaper, and especially the editorial column. Whenever you write an article, whenever you write an article, say for example, if you have seen yesterday's or day before yesterday's newspaper, there was an article on Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. Today's article I have reserved for some other discussion, that's why I am not discussing today's article. Yesterday or day before yesterday's article on IPEF, Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, the platform which India has recently joined. If you see that particular editorial article, you will see that there are 8 to 10 words which would be new for you. If these words are new for you, if you have attended my counseling sessions in the initial part of your admission process, I always say UPSC is nothing but a game of 5,000 words only. If you can master these 5,000 words, what are these 5,000 words? Where to appropriately put those 5,000 words? If you can master this, in mains your performance would be par excellence. So if you have to develop the vocabulary base of 5,000 words, nobody is writing this 5,000 words and giving it Xerox to you and by heart, right? So you have to develop the vocabulary base of these 5,000 words primarily through the newspapers. See, when a topper word I generally don't like. Whenever somebody who has done well in UPSC, if you read the answer, if you attended the last session on how to write an essay, you saw that, right? No big words he or she had used, but the message was so simply conveyed, so that the seamless transmission across the paragraph was possible because over a period of time that candidate developed this strong vocabulary base. So when you are reading the newspaper, always keeping in mind that I am not only reading from the news point of view or information point of view, I am also reading this newspaper to develop my vocabulary, which is very, very important. Okay? Once you keep that as your target, then there is a high probability that you will read it more deliberately. I told you this opinion base I have told. What else? Forces oneself to think analytically. But this capability to think analytically will come only after certain amount of understanding of all the topics has come. So at this point of view will take some time, maybe 6 months, 8 months, 9 months time. Okay? Then it ensures connectivity of classroom with the world. Excellent. This is the most important what you call advantage of reading a newspaper. See, your mains answer writing, probably I have told you, it is nothing but an interview in writing, because they cannot ask so many questions to you verbally. That is the reason why they are asking you to write and submit the answers. So mains is nothing but an interview in writing. If that is an interview in writing, if you are not able to connect what is happening in the classroom with the contemporary issues that are happening, there is no point in that. So with that intention, you have to read the newspaper. Once, say for example, Indian polity will be taught to you. Say they have taught about finance bill. What is a finance bill? What is the difference between a money bill, a finance bill? All these dimensions have been taught to you. Suddenly, something related to finance bill comes in the news. If you are not able to link that with the article, it means either your classroom learning is insufficient or your understanding of the article is insufficient. So UPSC mains, if you see the question paper, everything comes from current affairs, even the conceptual basic static subject also. They will link it with current affairs and they will ask. In the prelims paper, if you have seen history question, Ramanujan statue, they have linked recently Prime Minister unveiled a statue of Ramanuja, so and so feet, so and so tall and width. What is the message Ramanujan gave to the world? So he linked it with what's happened in the contemporary time with the historical perspective of what he taught to the world. So that is how you have to prepare for UPSC. Everything you have to link with the classroom. This is done. One important dimension you need to understand, that it also immensely helps to improve your communication skills. And believe you me, if you are looking smart and if your communication skills are good, no matter if you are not talking sense, but still people will get impressed by your personality. Interview mein, that is the reason why you will see toppers never get the highest marks in interviews. They always score 160, 170, 175. If you see 17 to 25, 30, this is where you will find maximum toppers of interview. 204, 205, 206. Why? Because these people have the capability to impress the audience with their communication skills, with their own personal presentation skills. So if you are lagging here, then you are tending to lose those 25, 30 marks. 25, 30 marks in UPSC means at a given point of time, you can right away 70 to 80 ranks gone. 25, 30 marks, because gradually when the marks get lower and lower, when you reach the 800 range or 900 range, for every score you will have 15, 16 ranks. So if you lose those 30, 35 marks because of lack of communication skills, because you did not develop communication skills, because you did not read the newspaper, that is when you stand to lose so many ranks. And if you are a general category student, so many ranks matter a lot to you. Why? Because the IAS is generally restricted anywhere between 85 to 105 ranks. If you get more than 105, 110th rank, your IAS dream is gone. You will again prepare next year, again you will end up writing the examination. So that is how communication skills is also an important dimension of newspaper reading. Okay? Yeah. See, we generally believe that we are reading newspaper for current affairs only. This is what is a general mindset. But newspaper is not the only source from where you will get current affairs. Agree with me or not? Hello? Are we alive? Yeah. How many people already dead? No? Take it. So if you are alive, if you are as I told you, the main intention is not only current affairs. The intention definitely is current affairs, but more than current affairs, I am looking at something beyond current affairs. So newspaper is just one element which is giving you current affairs. There are other sources. Do not go to this at this particular stage. The time is there, because very highly, the vocabulary of EPW happens to be one of the highest standards. You may not understand the articles of EPW at this particular stage. If you have seen, probably in one of the current affairs, I have tried to mellow down the tone of the article and give you as current affairs. If you are watching the current affairs, which we are trying to give you every day, so if you are reading that current affairs, उसमें EPW का article भी था. Which was that article? Anybody? ऐसे सवाल मत पूछो सर जिसका जवाब हमारे पास नहीं है. श्रीलंका इशू, you sure? No, it just because it was related to economy does not mean that it will come in EPW. Sri Lanka issue has been there in the news for many reasons, no? That's why. Okay. So this is, you can watch this Rajya Sabha TV big picture. I will suggest no to YouTube. I will suggest no to YouTube. If you want to kill your vocabulary, definitely go to YouTube. But if you want to, despite you reading a newspaper, if you are not able to understand the context of a particular article, you can go to YouTube. But I am sure before going to YouTube, you Google it first. Whosoever has presented an article in the most simplistic way, you read that article. If still you feel you are not able to condense what is there in the message, then go to YouTube. But uske baad research nahi karna YouTube. We tend to do this researching around the YouTube, don't do that. Okay? It will unnecessarily eat your time. This current affairs, it is important for all these three things. Yeah. See, one most important condition before we actually start reading the newspaper is, this is what I suggest to my students, that minimum NCERT ka one reading should have been done. See, newspaper will hover around 4 subjects primarily: economy, internal security and international relations, polity, very very important, polity, economy, internal security and IR. Last is very very important, social issues or dimensions. Anything related to malnutrition, anything related to women, anything related to the weaker sections of the society, anything related to where inequality indices are being talked about, everything comes under this dimension. If you are reading a newspaper, technically you are covering these 4 dimensions only. Anything which is beyond this, if it is appearing in the newspaper, it is not for your consumption. ये बात हमेशा याद रखो. Any political party making a statement against any other political party, it is not meant for you. Any news which is particular to a particular state, if you are not belonging to that state, you are not supposed to know that news. And if you are not preparing for any group examinations, you need not enter that page, which is South Indian states. In Hyderabad edition, you get South Indian states, right? You are not supposed to go there. Any news wherein a company is telling, in the last quarter I incurred so much of revenue loss or so much of revenue profit, it is not meant for you. But however, if it has done something where the Ministry of Commerce or ministry where it is concerned with, if it gives a statement that it has some reflection on the economic landscape of the country, then that becomes important. So that is how, wherever this is micro related to only that company, it is of no use to you. So you will see that if you follow this particular template, 60% of the newspaper you need not read. See, you have to understand one thing. The newspaper is not being published because only UPSC people are studying it. It has got diversified readership. So if that has got diversified readership, maybe the 60% which is not relevant to you may be relevant to somebody else. Like, I am an investor, I want to invest in this company, I want to know what is the performance of this company. Maybe the government has mandated this company that every quarter you will display on a nationalized newspaper what is your profit, loss or anything. So that is the reason why that could be news, but that is not important for you. So you have to understand this dimension, that everything that comes in the newspaper is not for your consumption. Your consumption may be in a day 40%, in some days 35%, in some days 50%, it may vary. Many a times it so happens that Monday to Friday you get this range of reading in a newspaper, Hindu especially, around 35 to 40%. Sunday this percentage drastically goes down because he does not provide any opinionated based kind of an articles on Sundays. So you can skip the newspaper on a given Sunday, or maybe when you are reading the Monday's paper, just glance through, just in case if there is an important news article, not an opinion based article. Okay? So this should be your strategy. See, and when coming to the time, correct time to read the newspaper, time in the sense, the number of hours that you take to read the newspaper. I have seen students spending 8 to 9 hours on newspaper. Acceptable initially 10 to 15 days, that to 5 to 6 hours, not 8 to 9 hours. If you are reading 8 to 9 hours, definitely you are reading something from that 60% which is not important for you. So very simple, first when you see the article, first question to yourself. That's the reason why first class I said please by heart the syllabus. कितना लोगों ने किया? What is the scope of syllabus? पेपर 3 में क्या क्या है सब्जेक्ट्स? 1 2 3 4 5 6 इकोनॉमी, इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी 1 2 3 4 5 6, साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी 1 2 3 4 5. कौन बताएगा? जब तक सिलेबस बाय हार्ट नहीं करोगे तुम्हारा स्ट्रैटेजी ऑफ यूपीएससी प्रिपरेशन विल नॉट बी करेक्ट. Because when you are reading an article, if you cannot correlate it with your syllabus, it means you are reading an article which is not important from UPSC perspective. As I told you, 4-5 dimensions which I wrote, if it is not within that 4-5 dimensions, you are unnecessarily reading that particular article. Okay? Like say for example, Prime Minister extended his good wishes or President extended his good wishes on the day of Mahashivratri to the nation. Now tell me, is that article important for my reading? May not be important for my reading. So that is how you need to understand the dimensions, right? So correct time, once you become a senior in reading newspaper, anywhere around 2 to not even 2.5 hours, 2 hours 15 minutes should be the right time to complete the newspaper. And read this newspaper always in breaks of 25 minutes. If you remember Pomodoro Technique, I talk about this technique. The technique is Pomodoro Technique. I think in one of the Telugu movies also this was there. Pomodoro Technique. Pomodoro Technique. Whatever your target, you put a target, there is a stopwatch. For 25 minutes without getting up from your seat, you do that task. And after 25 minutes, you take 5 minutes break and come back to the task if it is still incomplete. So you repeat this technique till such time your task in hand is not complete. So this is called Pomodoro Technique, and in this case you will take 4 what you call stages of Pomodoro Technique to complete the newspaper. That should be the strategy of preparing the newspaper. And the break should not be more than 5 minutes. Break does not mean you watch another video. Break means a break. You give rest to your brain. Okay? That's the intention. Yeah, making of notes from the newspaper. See, this somewhere I would have written. I think it's not here. See, whenever I am talking about notes of a newspaper, you should not write anything on the newspaper. While reading you can write, but that writing should not end there. That writing should come somewhere in a notebook which you can refer in future. Because we tend to have this feeling that I will keep safeguard this newspaper. Newspaper ka quality of printing is so good, after 3 days the internal security will merge with international relation and you can read a combined article. Okay? So do not rely upon the newspaper. Whatever you are making a note on the newspaper, it has to come somewhere in the textbook that you are or notebook that you are writing. So it is advisable either to take a digital copy after you have written whatever, or you write down wherever you are making a note. If you ask me, this is what I would suggest. It makes your work easier. You open a Word document if you have a system at home, you take a snap, post it on the first page, like that you continue posting. You can post the articles also in that way. So it will help you to revise faster before you go for your examination. Okay? Totality, when to cover a hard news in totality. What is the difference between soft news and hard news? There are 2 types of news. One is soft news, the other is hard news. What is the difference? Anybody? The news which is softer to hear is soft news, harder to hear. Taxes increased, hard news. Taxes reduced, soft news. Kya hai? What is the difference? Anything that forces you to think, that forces you to analyze is a hard news. Anything that gives you a soothing effect. Generally, when you read about Priyanka Chopra, it gives a soothing effect. So that is called a soft news. Anything which is related to entertainment. If it is, I like the sport of tennis, lawn tennis, say for example, any news on lawn tennis will give a soothing effect to me because I like that particular field. It is soft, right? Anything on art and culture, it is called a soft news. These soft newses generally have the tendency of being total in their own dimension. It means that there will not be any continuity in learning in that. That particular article will try to cover that in totality. You don't have to wait for the next episode to understand what is happening. But when it comes to hard news, which is forcing you to analyze, it may not be that the news is restricted to only that day. Maybe some additions will come in when the time passes by. So for example, the same incident that we spoke, the BJP spokesperson made a statement about one religious community in India. This statement was made on 26th of May, but the uproar started in the first week of June. So it means that after passing of some time, the uproar started. Somebody tried to capitalize it as a political mileage, right? So that is why it took some time for the news to become hard news. And once it became hard news, now you see that all the Muslim countries across the world are condemning the statement by India. They are not saying BJP spokesperson statement. They say we are deeply hurt by India's what you call statement on our prophet whom we consider very dearly or heavenly. That's what is the point. So that is how it takes time for sometimes the hard news to become the hard news. And you will have to wait. When to cover means when the totalitarian one see now Ukraine Russia is also hard news. It is continuing. When the war started, I thought maximum 48 hours or 96 hours Russia will capture Ukraine. But had Russia captured Ukraine in 48 hours, what Russia would have gained, what Ukraine would have gained, what US would have gained, what I would have lost is questionable. So by extending it, he is trying to open up another dimension for discussion. If you have seen the news yesterday or day before, he is saying now Russia wants to go further in Ukraine, try to occupy some more territories along the Black Sea. Now why Russia is eyeing on the Black Sea? So that it gets access to warm waters where the ships can easily sail. That is the biggest advantage Russia will get. So this has suddenly become a hard news, but it is not ending in its perspective. So any news on Russia, Ukraine, you can avoid. Why? Because now you generally know the context, what is happening around. Once you know the context, you need not follow that every day. Getting my point? So you can avoid that article also. I think in today's newspaper also that article is there. Yeah, the sequence of reading is very, very important. Say for example, when I take a newspaper in my hand, say my heart beats for international relations, for example. So there is a page by name Foreign in Hindu. It is the page where international events are being shown as articles. So if I have fascination for IR, I can start my newspaper with the subject which I like the most. If second subject is say Indian economy, I come to economy page. Third subject is what is happening in the national headlines I want to know. I go to the news page. Then finally I go to the editorial page. Believe you me, I have never read first page in my life. I always miss the headlines. That is the reason why it so happens in my friend circle when they start, because this Nupur Sharma I told you, I came to know about her only yesterday or day before. When this was in the headline news for the last 5-6 days, I didn't know that. But one tweak I said, Nupur, Verma is requesting people not to disclose her home address. I was like, why this girl is so interested that she wants to hide her home address. I didn't know what is the issue going behind it. That is when yesterday or day before when I came across a hard news, that is when I realized what kind of mistake this girl has done. One more beautiful thing is, you will not see anywhere in any of the televised media what she said. That is called censorship. What she said you will not find in any of the print media, you will not find in any of the video media. Why? Because continuous existence of that in the media can also spur controversy. People can use it for trolling. So that will unnecessarily entice the people to again pick up arms against somebody. So that has completely been erased. And all the newspapers have been told, you will not repeat what this lady said. Now the problem is, this happened on 26th of May. Now nobody knows what she said, other than the people who got offended. Now technically I researched good about, I spent 1.5 hours. So many articles I went through to know what this lady said. The only said was she passed so comments against Prophet Muhammad. Usne kya bola, I don't know. You getting my point? That has been very intelligently removed by, that is where the Press Council of India comes into play, which guides or which advises all the media editions to remove these contents from their landscape. So that is how they try to control the law and order situation in the country. Okay? The sequencing, I have told you, what you like, you start with that. It doesn't mean that what you hate, you read the last. So whenever in sequence, whichever is more comfortable to you, you can do that. Advisable to read the newspaper in the morning. Make it a habit. See, firstly, we should not be reading newspaper just because we are preparing for an exam. That is the biggest sin. Okay? You should be, as a citizen of your country, you should be knowing what is happening around. But for some reasons in India, this culture of reading newspaper has not developed. For some reasons, right? But now at least when you are preparing for UPSC examination or Group 1 examination, you should make an effort to read the newspaper every day. Not from the perspective of examination, from the perspective of being a learned citizen or an informed citizen. Okay? Very important. When to start, when to stop, this I have spoken at length before also. This we have covered, this we have covered. Yeah, see, one dimension again you have to understand. Every newspaper publication has its own ideology. The Hindu has an ideology. It is said that Hindu is tilted towards the left and the government in power today is more tilted towards the right. So whatever the government does good, still Hindu will see the bad side of it, because every action has a two sides of a coin. So whatever good they are doing, they will only try to see the bad side of that coin. So you should not get carried away. So that is why if you are continuously reading the Hindu newspaper, you'll start thinking, am I becoming leftist day by day? So because whatever the government is trying to see, I am trying to find fault in that. So that should not be the case. Nowadays, there's a lot of news, a lot of video trolls are happening. People are saying that more than Gandhi, it is Subhash Chandra Bose because of whom India got independence. This was in news couple of months before, and now people have got evidences. People have researched on it. Researched in the sense they have collected data from across the world. And in one of the interviews, Winston Churchill, he made a statement that what is the reason that you are planning to give India independence? Is it that you are afraid of Gandhi's non-violent struggle and all? So he said the influence of Gandhi's Satyagraha on my decision is minimal. He used the word minimal. It means that we did not get independence because of Gandhiji's Satyagraha this thing. But he goes on further to make a statement that I was more afraid about the INA, the Indian National Army, that was raised by Subhash Chandra Bose and where the mutiny has started in INA. I cannot withstand this mutiny at this point of time. So it means that directly or indirectly, the cause of India's freedom lies less in Gandhi's role, more in Subhash Chandra's role. So now the BJP wants to highlight this dimension and say that a particular family, especially the Congress Nehruvian family, undermined the role of Subhash Chandra Bose and unnecessarily highlighted the Gandhian role and gave him the tag of father of the nation also. So that is how, depends on which government is in the center, the history is rewritten. The history is rewritten. In the same article, he tries to goes on to say that when Pakistan became independent, Muhammad Ali Jinnah became their Governor General, while Lord Mountbatten continued to be the Governor General of India, even an independent India, just because Nehru was proximate to somebody. So these kind of statements keep coming up. So you should not get carried away by these kind of news. Okay? Very, very important. Again, always read a newspaper from mains and interview perspective, link it with syllabus. Gradually start critically analyzing the news. It will take some time, but it will come. Okay? Yeah. Some helpful tips of reading a newspaper. If at all you happen to miss a newspaper on a particular given day, do not bother much. ये कहने के आसमान टूट गया, no, nothing has happened. Even if you miss it on the, what happens is, I am telling you the psych. Monday I have missed the newspaper. Tuesday I have time to read the newspaper, but my mind is saying first I have to read Monday's newspaper. Only then I will read the Tuesday's newspaper. The end result is neither you will read Monday newspaper, neither you will read Tuesday newspaper. That's why I am saying, if at all any given day if you happen to miss a newspaper, do not think much. Go ahead with the next day's newspaper. If you are difficulty with the language, you can use the dictionary, let the issue settle. Which is this issue? Hard news or soft news? It is an hard news, let it settle down, then you can read about it. Pace of reading. Yeah, this is very important. This pace of reading will define how much time you will take to read the newspaper. The pace of reading, the pace of writing. See, UPSC में 150 words, 250 words जो देता है, it is very scientifically designed. It is not out of the blue 150 डाल दे, 250 डाल दे, SMA 1100 to 1200 डाल दे, let them write whatever they want to write. No, it is very scientifically designed. It is said that on an average a human can write around 20 to 30 words average speed per minute. For a GS question of say 250 marks, 250 words, you get 9 minutes to write. This 9 minutes, if I think say 1 minute, if you taken a minute to think about, you have 8 minutes to write. So if a word is asking you anywhere 200 to 250 words, it means it is expecting you to write on an average speed. If it is 20 to 30 words per minute, I will say 30 on the positive side. 8 3s are 24. Getting my point? So these are all scientifically designed to ensure that you are not tested beyond your capabilities. That's why 1 minute for thinking has been removed, and that is how you got 8 minutes to write a 250 words answer. You will get around 7 minutes to write a 150 word answer. So same way, the pace of reading also matters. This time in the prelims examination, the reading comprehension, people felt they are easy. Why people felt they are easy? Because the articles have been directly picked up from the newspaper and put as reading comprehension. The otherwise GS paper 1 also, certain questions when we were trying to decipher where the questions have come from, they have straight away picked up articles from the question paper and made a GS 1 paper and they gave in the prelims examination. That is why the importance of reading newspaper also matters. Okay? You need to develop the pace of reading. Don't rewrite the entire article. When you are making notes, do not do this mistake. Otherwise, you will reprint the newspaper in the notebook. There is no use of that. Okay? Use technology to save time. I have spoken about this at length. Yeah, this happens to be today's newspaper, 6th of June 2022. There was an article नीचे, ad of Waziram and Ravi, the greatest institution of all times. नीचे पूरा ad था, तो only this part I have covered. Now, this is one article. More nations express outrage. India flays OIC. What is flays? Flays is disciplining. Flay means beating up somebody. There is a mark है, ठीक से रहना, ठीक है? So India flays OIC. See, whatever, see, Hindu is the authentic, considered to be highly learned people read this newspaper. So in a way, it is also the reflection of Indian opinion on any issue. If a foreign country individual has to know what is India's stand on this particular issue, he will first open the Hindu, click करेगा the Hindu, today's news article, he finds this word flays. OIC बोलेगा अच्छा, oh flay, you want to beat me up for raising this issue. So you are trying to convey a message that I am not afraid of your statements. I know my person has made a wrong remark, but expecting the nation to apologize for it is something too much. We immediately made statement to US. US also very recently released one report, anybody, on this dimension. It was in news. United States का एक report निकला है, something on these lines. United States, the Secretary of State of United States presented a report to the US Congress on international religious freedom. US का one committee on international religious freedom, they have taken out one report. In that report, they said that in India, ever since Modi government has come into power, the minorities have been subdued. The minorities have been compelled to keep quiet, is the essence of the message of that particular news. Immediately India said, पहले अपना झांक के देखो, बाद में दूसरे के ऊपर बात करो. In the first place, nobody invited you to bring out this international religious freedom. You are not an international organization trying to do this. Nobody asked you in the first place. And even if you have found, what is the ground on which that you have come to a conclusion that this is what is happening in India? And in that case, why are you silent about, in the same report, about the atrocities against the black which is happening by the, which is being done by the, executed by the whites? Why are you not talking in the same report about the school killings that are happening in your country? First you see your door, then come to my door. Was the reply India officially gave to US. Now, at that particular point of time, this incident happening, people are interlinking with that with this. So now you have to, as a student of UPSC, analyze and understand, was it a drama that was trying to be pitched up in the background, or what is it that is happening? Okay? See, it is always said that in our population, 20 crores are Indians, Muslims in our population. Right? In the world population of Muslims, 20 crores are in India, the second most Muslim population country in the world after Indonesia is our country. Okay? So anything happening to this community, any decision being taken or any law coming into force, any removal, any adjustment here and there will have, definitely have international repercussions. So that is the reason why over a period of time historically the governments have been very comprehensively conservative while taking any bold decision where this section of the population is directly affected, because they know that it will have international repercussions. Why? Because I told you, in the globalization, the world has become a common village. Why we are bothered? Why we are bothered with this? Can anybody tell? Why we are bothered with whatever outrage is happening on India on this particular issue? What is one issue which India is bothered? No. Beyond it. मैंने economy का जब first I took this session, first only one session I took, no, basics of Indian economy. What was the first slide? Who is most important in the economy? What is most important in the economy? It is the people who are most important. You have your people who have gone to these countries. What will happen if some street fight happens there? People target your country people there in those Western, in those Middle East countries, West Asian countries. What will happen? So that is the biggest fear the country has, because my citizens are working in those countries which countries are condemning this action on Prophet Muhammad. If that guy does not happen to be a Muslim and happens to be a Hindu who is there in Qatar working as a gardener somewhere, what will happen to him? If somebody finds out that he is an Indian, a non-Muslim Indian, he will directly link with him with the BJP and start beating him up. So that is the biggest fear of our government, to take care of our people, expatriates who are residing there. Definitely the dimension of trade comes into, definitely the dimension of oil dependency comes into picture, definitely the dimension of the inward remittances that they will send, the money that they will send, all are important. But above all, what is important is the people of my country. So this article is talking about various other dimensions, who are all condemning this, the GCC is condemning this, the OIC is condemning this, OIC. Now when you read this article, now you should be worried, what is this OIC? Because you are a fresher, you may not be knowing what is this. So over a period of time, you start making chota box notes. In a notebook, what you make, open a notebook, edit what you call newspaper articles, important issues. Newspaper article, important issues is the heading of the cover page. In that cover page, write the date on top, and in that you write, this is the article, no need to write the heading of the article, nothing. You just write OIC, it is a grouping of so many countries, the purpose is this, headquarter is this, that's all. Second, you see GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council, so many countries, this is the purpose. So here for you the news is not so important, but the connecting dimensions are very important, right? The same way, something again on similar lines, the Sikh leader calls for arms training, again loose statement. But now tell me, did this news get the same international attention? Why? Because people belonging to this faith are not as widely spread as these people are. Getting my point? So that is the reason why you will never find these kind of news crossing your boundary. Even if it is there, nobody will even read. Nobody will even read. It has come in the headlines. No, not even single video on YouTube on this. There are 11,000 videos on this. What is the difference? The difference is that it has got cross-boundary implications. That is the reason why it has become the most important news. Okay? Not many here. Say for example, this was the news. So that is how you made a cover story about this. Any vocabulary based word here? Let me see if you can find out, if you can see. Communal approach. They are blaming that the government's approach to governance is influenced by its ideology of Hindutva. See, for all practical purposes, we know that BJP is the political wing of RSS. RSS is the what you call parent organization of BJP. But when you become a political party, you have to take everybody on board. You cannot be pointing a finger unnecessarily against somebody. Okay? Yeah, Bay of Bengal dream. See, this is the editorial, the second editorial. Open your article, editorial page, go to the editorial page. From first page, I move to the editorial page straight away. Take out your editorial, the editorial in the bottom. Take out the editorial page. One more page. One more page. Yeah, this is your editorial page. Where it is written on left top corner, no? Editorial. There is an article on top. What is that article about? Anybody? पढ़ो कुछ समझ में आ रहा है तो बताओ मैं. What is this article about? Which issue? उसी के ऊपर है आर्टिकल. क्या है? What is the article? Read the heading of the article. An anomaly that goes by the name populism. Yeah, an anomaly that goes by the name populism. Now read the first paragraph. Now you all in chorus said that it is related to this, right? In chorus you all agreed that the article is related to that. Up first paragraph पढ़ो and confirm whether it is related to this. There is a word called social democratization, right? What is this social democratization? Anybody? What is democratization? The process of bringing in more and more democratic principles in decision making is process of democratization. What is social democratization? What, the moment social word is added, what has happened to the democracy?
Spread of education.
Thoda, ek, let her, then I'll come to you. Huh. No. In the political science, social democracy means gradual transmission from democracy to socialism. From gradual transition from democracy to socialism. So now what this article's intention to say is, the crux of the article is, the inequality in the society is not only economic in its what you call stature, it is also social, it is also cultural, it is also religious. So the inequality cannot be restricted only to economic inequality. Now read the first paragraph. What is saying? While economic inequalities have grown exponentially over the last few decades, we have also witnessed social democratization that has been silent and uneventful. Democratization has happened due to the spread of education, growing reach of the market, and a communication revolution that includes social media and a renewed legitimization of democracy through the principle of one vote, one value. So such social equalization has not, however, contributed in any substantial sense to distributive justice. Now, what he is saying, whatever education has happened as a result of democracy, everybody got a right to get educated, but even this education could not bring in the desired social change. And what is this desired social change? He says did not bring in the distributive justice, did not happen. It means the poor are still outside the reach of the judicial remedy. It is only the rich who are getting in time judicial remedy. He goes on to say much against the assumption that the shift from equality to difference will also account for economic inequality. Populism is an expression of this anomaly of growing social mobility sans economic equality. So he is trying to link, earlier there were social inequality, now because of this trend of democratization, the social inequalities are further growing. You may give education to everybody, you may give the health facilities to everybody, you may give insurance facility to everybody, but at the end of the day the difference will continue to happen. So this article, though is not directly related to the past article, the previous article that we studied, but you can make an assumption the underlining impact of this article is to convey a message that in India the social divergence is only spreading. So social divergence is only spreading. Okay? So he is trying to link that with this concept. Contemporary is in news. Opinion में क्या है? Concept, which is not visible. He is trying to say this is uneven, and in the second or third line, no, we have also witnessed social democratization that has been silent and uneventful, means it is not blown out of proportion suddenly, silently these things are happening, and uneventful means without grabbing the attention of the world, silently and without any unevently these things are happening. So that is the crux of that article. So you have to break the essence, try to understand. Initially this is a very difficult article to start your editorial with. So that is the reason why I did not take this article as the core discussion for our editorial analysis today, because in this you have to understand what is socialism, what is capitalism, what is communalism, what are the basic tenets of all the three, and what is the difference amongst all the three. All these dimensions should be clearly known to you, which is not the case as of now. That's why I did not take this as a major article for discussion in the today's class. Now come to the next article. Uske theek niche. They are talking about what? Bay of Bengal dream. Some dream they are talking about. Bay of Bengal ka dream. This is the Bay of Bengal dream. When you read the article, they are saying that the BIMSTEC is one organization. If you see here, somewhere here it will come, BIMSTEC, Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral, Technical and Economic Cooperation. So he is saying 1997 this body was established in some form, now it is 25 years, means silver jubilee. 25 years is what? Silver jubilee. That is why he starts a silver moment to propel a Bay of Bengal dream. And what is that dream? Multi-sectoral, technical and economic cooperation. Which are the countries? Now that is your notes. BIMSTEC formed in 1997. Who were the countries? What was the name? Who have joined later? Now the name is BIMSTEC. What is the aim and objective of this organization? When we go ahead, he is saying past trajectory. At the grouping's birth, the second paragraph, at the grouping's birth, the world was different. It was stamped by America's unipolar movement. In 1997, listen, in 1997, America was a unipolar superpower. 1991, disintegration of USSR happened. So the opposite bloc in the Cold War era got demolished. So America was the only superpower with unquestioning authority in the international arena, 1997. So he says that when this grouping was born, the world was in a completely different shape. He goes on to say that India and Thailand joined hands to start an experiment of infusing a part of South Asia with the economic and institutional dimension that defined the Southeast Asian nation. See, there is something known as a regional body, there is something known as an international body. United Nations is an international body, yes or no? IMF is an international body, World Bank is an international body, World Trade Organization is an international body. Likewise, you have some regional organization, ASEAN, ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nations is one of the regional bodies, South Asian, SAARC, South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation is also a regional body, some countries, don't worry about that. So now, he is trying to say that by seeing the success of ASEAN, India and Thailand thought of interconnecting the SAARC with the Southeast Asian nations. Historically, ASEAN is known to be the most successful regional grouping in the world. Many countries try to emulate this at their local area level, regional level, but could not succeed. The reason why ASEAN became the most successful grouping was there was common economic, political, socio-cultural landscape without any infights amongst themselves. So in the span of 20 years of the birth of ASEAN, this entire countries within the ASEAN, they started developing at a very rapid stage. So the world tried to imitate that. So this imitation of India started in the year 1997 with an intention to have an organization. Okay? Then he says, join hands to start an experiment of infusing a part of South Asia with the economic and institutional dynamism that defined the ASEAN. But BIMSTEC found the burdens of South Asia too heavy to carry. It means that when the South Asian, the biggest burden of South Asia is a combination of 8 countries where it starts with Afghanistan and ends with Maldives. The problem is India and Pakistan both are in this ASEAN, in the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. So wherever these two countries are there on a common platform, it is very, very natural that they will kill that platform. So though India tried along with Thailand to infuse some what you call breather to this new organization, it failed because it could not carry the burden of South Asia. So that is how he is trying to give a reason why this body failed, why ASEAN succeeded. I told you ASEAN succeeded because there was no land boundary disputes, there was no infights, and there was a common cultural, socio-economic and political landscape. That is why they what you call flourished. Now he continues to say, now in the third decade of the 21st century, the strategic contestation, please note down this word, a vocabulary, strategic contestation, very, very important. Strategic contestation Can anybody? Strategic contestation. What is the strategic contestation? Means now two entities are fighting to say that I am the boss. The first country is the United States and the second country is China. So the geopolitics of the world are shaping the regional groupings outcome also. That's what is the message that he is trying to give. The strategic contestation between US and China defines the region's geopolitics and geoeconomics. Geopolitics means where politics is influenced by the geography, geoeconomics is where economics is influenced by the geography. Wherever geography influences economy, wherever geography influences the polity is called geopolity or geoeconomics. ठीक है? Creating new tensions and opportunities. Read this paragraph. Read this paragraph from your newspaper. See, now listen. Most important thing in IR you should remember is international relation. One big country will not allow a small country to flourish. I am making a very big statement. One big country will not allow a small country to flourish on its own. One dimension. The second is it will not allow it to flourish when it joins hands with somebody who is equivalent to power with me but in the opposite side. If Thailand is there in ASEAN, he is engaging with China. The ASEAN trade with China is close to $1,000 billion. $1,000 billion is the trade of ASEAN with China. It means very strong economic cooperation. Yes or no? Here the intention is also sectoral, technical and economic cooperation on the lines of ASEAN. The ASEAN's economic cooperation with China is deep rooted, $970 billion to be more precise. And India's trade with ASEAN is hardly $90 billion. Now, if they have to take a decision, will they take purely on these figures? Yes or no? Thailand wants to take, Myanmar wants to take, Singapore wants to take, Malaysia wants to take. They will see their relationship with China before they take any major decision with India. So that will always have an influence on the growth of this particular sector, because the countries are from regions which are indirectly dependent on China. Afghanistan is in a way dependent on China, Sri Lanka is dependent on China, Bangladesh is dependent on China, Pakistan completely dependent on China, Maldives is also dependent on China. And in the other side, if I go to Northeast, the Southeast Asia, you have a country like Myanmar, you have a country like Thailand. So they are again through the platform of ASEAN deeply integrated with China. So you have a wrong combination. That's what he tries to say. That because of this kind of combination, you will never be able to see success the way you want. Because the geopolity and the geoeconomy is defining the outcome of this particular what you call grouping. So this is how you are supposed to decipher the meaning of that particular editorial. The editorial will take maximum time. After that, opposite to the editorial will take maximum time. You read through. One more important word which will come here. Please read through. One important dimension. What is the problem here? The biggest problem here is not having a free trade agreement. You have not been able to have a free trade agreement. Now the question starts, what is this free trade agreement? When you read this article, you will Google, and in the box in your notes you will write, acha, this is called free trade agreement, where the tariffs and the non-tariff measures are drastically reduced or near to zero. That is a free trade agreement. We cannot have free trade agreement with BIMSTEC because Pakistan is also in the grouping. We cannot have free trade agreement because Sri Lanka is also in the grouping. You getting my point? So that is how the free trade agreement is stopping. The free trade agreement is not happening because we are carrying the burden of South Asia. We are carrying the burden of South Asia. If there is no free trade, definitely the volume of trade will not go high. If the volume of trade will not go high, the economic cooperation will not be stronger. So it means your aim of economic cooperation is not achieved. Getting my point? The technical cooperation you can get, but economic cooperation, the biggest impediment or the biggest enabler of economic cooperation is connectivity. Yes or no? Connectivity by land, connectivity by air, connectivity by sea. Somewhere he talks about connectivity here, just see. Somewhere he is talking about connectivity. See, the other disappointment is connectivity in infrastructure, road, rail, air, river and coastal shipping, energy, the digital and financial domain, and institutions that bring people closer together for trade, tourism and cultural exchanges. Only limited progress has been achieved so far despite the adoption of the master plan for connectivity that is supported by the Asian Development Bank. Now one more new word, Asian Development Bank. What is this Asian Development Bank? ये कब establish हुआ? What is the purpose of this establishment? Is India a member of it? Have we taken any loan from Asian Development Bank? Have we advantaged ourselves through the money that has been given by Asian Development? This is the questions that should come to you. And he is talking about some third space. Tell me, what is this third space? What is this third space? What is this third space? Who is this third space? Who is this third space? This third space is nothing but your business chambers and corporate leaders. That is the third space. Government level efforts are happening, people to people contacts are also happening, but till such time the businessman does not go there, establish something big, the movement will not happen positive. So the third space is missing there, and he is trying to connect by saying that the newly established IPEF should create that third space, Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for prosperity, should bring in that particular change, is what he is talking about. Got the idea? So this is primarily intended to give you a holistic perspective of why this organization has failed. That is the intention of this particular article. You have to read it like this. Surrogacy Act, very very important. Just read the gist part onto this side. कहीं पे होगा देखो surrogacy. Go ahead. Text and context. That is one of my favorite pages. Text and context. देखो है या it is only on the online platform? No, it is not there. It is only, I think, in the online this thing. It is not there in the hard copy paper. Text and context. In this text and context, he is talking about one important act called Surrogacy Act. There are so many things to read from this article. Very very important. Now from the syllabus point of view, किधर आएगा? Surrogacy Act. How many of you do not know what is a Surrogacy Act? No problem, you can raise your hand. मैं सवाल पूछूंगा. No idea. Good. Anybody else who says I don't know anything about this Surrogacy Act? It was in news for last 4-5 years news में है. Starting from 2018 continuously it is in news. Surrogacy Act. See, he says that as per the Surrogacy Act, a married couple can opt for surrogacy only on medical grounds. Surrogacy is nothing but requesting another lady to carry your offspring. That is the essence of surrogacy. Because of some medical conditions, a couple may not be able to conceive a child naturally. So in this situation, the law permits you to take the support of somebody else who can conceive on your behalf, and on the birth of the child will be handed over to the biological parents. The biological parents remain the couple who opted for surrogacy. Earlier, yes ma'am? Hanji. So now the Surrogacy Act, see it earlier there was no law as such in place, and the Western people were unnecessarily exploiting the Indian woman, especially from the weaker sections of the society. Now the government has made it very, very clear that this surrogacy, this particular act is only applicable to, the surrogacy right is only applicable to Indian. 2-3 incidents happened. One Australian couple came and opted for surrogacy. They were wanting one child. Now she was blessed with twins. बोला हम एक ही लेंगे. अब दुकान थोड़ी है, ठीक है. So then lot of judicial remedial action started. Finally things ended up in a very bad shape. There was a couple from Japan. They came for surrogacy. Things were going perfectly all right. Suddenly before the birth of the child, the couple got separated. So that opened a Pandora's box. Sala ab kya? So these are all technical challenges that we face. What if the child that is going to be born, is born with some what you call health issues? They will again disown. So there was no law put in place. So that is when India decided that we will have a law in place and will define the limits of surrogacy. That is when lot of rules came into picture. So you should be knowing all these dimensions. Very, very important. So in the gist they are saying only the Indian. It also prescribes an age criteria. In what dimension of age a woman can be a surrogate mother? She has to be a relative of the couple who are intending to go for surrogacy. She should already have at least one child and healthy child before she can be a surrogate mother. And there is a age that is prescribed. Women 23 to 30 and the man between 26 to 55 years of age to go for surrogacy. Very important. Allows single women to resort to surrogacy. She has to either be a widow or a divorcee. Single men are not eligible to go for surrogacy. So that is where this is very clear. And only a close relative of the couple can be a surrogate mother. She should have been married with a child of her own, and she can only be a surrogate mother only once. ये सब कुछ भी नहीं था. People were, there was a movie also on this, no, surrogate. क्या नाम था? Mimi. Mimi was the movie, right? Very beautifully story woven movie. Like even at the bill stage, there was some apprehension about two restrictive regulations. For instance, it does not allow single, never been married women or men or gay couples to go in for surrogacy. So for you being a surrogate mother, you should have been married. So that is one. The reason why this is imposed is so that the parents do not force a woman or a girl to go for surrogacy for the chance of making some money. That is the intention of doing this particular thing. A very beautifully written article. I suggest everybody should go through this particular article. So this comes under the social issues. This comes under the governance. It can be asked under any of the dimensions. Now, always remember, in mains, what is the section in which a question is asked, your answer should be more tilted towards that section. As I said, social issues, GS kahin aur aata hai, governance comes somewhere else. If it is asked in governance, then you will try to incline more towards the law. what the law is saying more than the social dimension of it. The moment this question is asked in social issues, what you call context of the syllabus, then you will tilt more towards the social issues dimensions related to this particular article, wherein you talk about the health of the mother, health of the surrogate mother. You will talk about the what dimensions of insurance should be given to her for her health when she is being a surrogate mother. So these kind of dimensions you will have to open up. Depending from which section a question has been asked, your answer should be tilting towards that question. Okay? Yeah, social media regulations. अब ये किस में आएगा? Social media regulation. What is the heading it will come under? One is governance again. One is governance again. Second is internal security. Very, very important. Internal security. But you will see the article is not tilted towards internal security. The article is tilted more towards governance, because as per the new IT rules, the government proposed some change. What is that change? We'll see. On 2nd of June, the Ministry of Electronics and IT put out a draft proposal seeking comments from the general public on a set of proposed amendments to the Information Technology Intermediary Guidelines and Digital Media Ethics Code 2021. He is using a technical word called intermediary. What is an intermediary? Anybody who is providing you a platform for communication with each other. Facebook is an intermediary, WhatsApp is an intermediary, Telegram is an intermediary. Like this, these are intermediaries. They are saying that some rules have been proposed, guidelines have been proposed for these intermediaries. And what are these guidelines that intended to regulate them? Say for example, some hate speech is spreading through WhatsApp. Somebody is spreading hate speech using WhatsApp as a medium of communication. Now if an FIR is being filed, WhatsApp is saying, sir, I am providing end-to-end encryption. Oh, आपस में क्या लड़ रहा है? I have got nothing to do. So he is getting away by saying that because I am giving end-to-end encryption, you cannot make me criminally liable for what is happening on my channel. So then the government said, beta अगर ऐसा है तो अपनी दुकान बंद करो और जाओ. Very literally, the Supreme Court also told, because he said accountability is the facet of governance. If you are wanting to be in India, if you are wanting your services to be used in India, you have to be held accountable at some place. You cannot say that I have given end-to-end encryption. That is the reason why you see earlier there was no restriction on the number of forwards you can do at one point of time. Now there is restriction, you can send only 5 recipients at one given point of time. These are all we are learning in the process. And there was earlier, there was no mechanism to find out who was the originator of the message. Now WhatsApp has coded something that will decide ये originator कौन था, तो उससे उसको पकड़ लेंगे कि बेटा तूने start किया था. You getting my point? These are all with an intention to what? Bring in more and more regulation, and regulation is part of governance. So that is how it comes under the dimension of governance. And if you are trying to regulate something which has got internal security dimension, then you are talking about internal security. If this question comes under GS paper 3, where internal security is there, the way to write the answer is completely different. When if it comes as part of governance in GS paper 1 or 2, then it is completely different how you will write this article. So he goes on to say, is this there in your paper? No. I'll share this with you, don't worry. I think I have in the daily current affairs this article has come, today's current affairs. I don't think so. Surrogacy I have given, I remember, but this article I think I have not given. See, now there was a lot of controversy on this. The controversy was, there is an intermediary, WhatsApp, there is an intermediary, say for example, the name of the intermediary here is WhatsApp. Now, earlier, before all this fiasco happened, there was no please think, listen to me very carefully. WhatsApp ka, there was no kind of office in India. This guy was operating without being in India physically. So agar complaint hai, because WhatsApp as a channel has been used to propagate some unrest or communal violence in the country, whom to approach? गवर्नमेंट को स्टार्टिंग में पता ही नहीं चला कि कंप्लेंट कहाँ डाले, बिकॉज थाने में रिपोर्ट जब लिखना है, व्हेन यू लॉज ए कंप्लेंट इन द पुलिस स्टेशन, वो पहला सवाल पूछेगा, द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन दैट इज गोइंग टू आस्क इज वेयर इज द पर्सन अगेंस्ट टू होम यू आर ट्राइंग टू फाइल अ कंप्लेंट. मोदी ऑल्सो डिड नॉट नो वेयर इज दिस गाई. So that is when government decided that they will ask them to open an office in India, a brick and mortar office where your representatives would be sitting. I want your representatives sitting here so that if there is a complaint, I'll approach them. And these people not only sit but are responsible to ensure timely grievance redressal. For various type of grievances, various timelines were given. Say for example, anything which is demeaning to a religion, anything which is sexually exploitative in nature, those kind of posts have to be removed within 24 hours. This was a timeline given. For other kinds of posts and all, 15 days time was given. Now if this grievance redressal mechanism fails, earlier the individuals had the right to go to court directly. Now through this amendment, the government is saying that I will establish a appellate committee which the central government will establish. Now before going to the court, you can appeal to this particular appellate committee against the grievance redressal by this intermediary if you are not satisfied. Now after that, if you do not want to go here, you can directly go to the court. Now the critics are saying, what is the reason that you want this appellate committee to be formed, and top of it you are telling this central government will decide who will be the chairman and who will be the members. So are you trying to indirectly control the entire digital platform? अब critics है भाई, इंडिया है, डेमोक्रेसी. चाइना में ऐसा सवाल नहीं आता है, because चाइना में nobody will open the mouth, right? But in India, the moment you say, because we are a very beautiful federation, no? The moment you say central government will appoint, KCR will say, wait. I say you will appoint. Who are you to appoint? Why? Because if somebody related to my state is involved, why will he come to you? He will directly go to court. Okay? So the question is, why central government wants to come in picture? Why? Because this is not executive, this is judicial remedy. This remedy of grievance redressal has got a quasi-judicial, what you call bent of approach. In the quasi-judicial, why you want the executive members to come? Because there is a high probability that they may allow something which is promoting their government philosophy or ideology and do not act upon that. High probability. So that is the reason why people are saying we don't want this. People mean the critics are saying, because the article itself says it was put up for public comments. The moment you put something for public comments, the public will start commenting. Yes or no? So that is when the critics started saying, no, we do not want this particular thing. This oversight we do not want. Oversight of your people, I do not want this, please remove this. That is the essence of this article. The gist. What happened? When the people started posting these comments, the same day, morning they posted, afternoon they removed. The best way to avoid more controversy, right? You post in the morning, afternoon you remove it. So that is why revised version, the draft proposed a grievance appellate committee functioning over and above the intermediate grievance redressal officer. Broadly, in case a user is not satisfied with the resolution provided by the intermediary, she or he can appeal against the decision at the appellate. The draft also put forth the obligation that all social media intermediaries resolve all complaints within 72 hours of reporting. This article is very important. I will share it with you tomorrow as part of current affairs. Please go through it. I will add some information to this. Something has happened in the past. It is a hard news. something has happened in the past, I'll try to connect that also. Okay? Yeah. Why the Gulf matters now? This is the most important dimension. Why the Gulf matters? Because there are Indians in the Gulf. If you see the trade, one aspect that you need to focus is, just see this. There are countries like UAE and Saudi Arabia with your trade partnership is one of the highest. Only barring US and China, third and fourth position are taken by them. And these are the two countries who took this very strong view about this particular statement that happened in India. So one small loose statement by one political representative completely affecting. There are a lot of videos now where in the what we call it departmental stores and all, wherever Indian goods are there, they have put polythenes over this. This is not for sale. So just see the amount of detest the people have because somebody made one statement which was against their belief system. So that is how you need to be very careful in this 21st century what you are talking. So there is a time, this is the high time that you enlighten, you educate your spokesperson what can have international ramifications. You need to educate them. This is not that country of 18th or 17th century ke tum kuch bhi bologe chalega. Nahi chalega. Because we are a globalized world today. The biggest reason why you will see this kind of this is because you always claim to be a responsible democracy. Because you carry this tag of being responsible democracy very big. The moment you do not act on it, then people will start questioning. तुम हमेशा बोलते रहे मैं responsible बच्चा हूँ, अब बताओ responsibility क्या है? So the government was forced to sack both of them. The government was forced to sack both of them. Unnecessarily नौकरी चले गई. एक ने statement दिया, one person gave the statement, the second idiot supported on Twitter. वो Twitter में support करने के चक्कर में वो भी फंस गया. So you have to be very careful when you are dealing with anything on the social media, and especially when you are holding any government office. That is the most important. And you see the remittances also. India is getting, just see the kind of remittances you are getting. All 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 11. These are the highest countries from where you are getting remittances. If they are forced to come back to India based on this, what is the effect on the foreign exchange reserves? What is the effect on the inflow of dollars? Very bad effect. Because last year you got around $100 billion of remittances. Now that will go down. Take it. I think the photo is also India वाला बेचारा garden में पानी डाल रहा है. In where? In Qatar. In Qatar. So like this, lot of unskilled labor goes to these regions to find employment. And if they are there, you cannot make any loose statements of the belief system of that particular world, Middle East. Okay? Iska answer I have already given you, but don't look at the clock and read the newspaper. Okay? So you will see that, as I told you, 60 to 65% of the articles are not meant for you. Please, this though it is the thank you is still not done. Don't worry. Open the newspaper, go to the page of foreign. What are the articles on the foreign page? Is there any article on the foreign page which you feel is important? World. In this you will find it in world. One article, let me see who tells that which is important. And from what perspective, please tell that as well. Act prudently, China tells Australia, be in your limits. सीधा सीधा अक्षरों में China is telling Australia, be in your limits. You have joined Quad, you have joined IPEF, you have joined AUKUS also. Australia, UK and United States, which is a military alliance. Okay? So now you are crossing your limits. I am the boss of the Indo-Pacific region. Please mind your limits. What Australia did? Read the article. Australia sent a recce aircraft on the South China Sea. China claims the entire South China Sea as part of its geographical territory, exclusive economic zone, what we call, right? So Australia, by sending that, immediately how China responded? China responded by sending a fighter aircraft to maneuver it outside the reach of South China Sea, and China making a statement officially, if you repeat these kind of actions on ground, you will have to face the repercussions. Australia is becoming victim in the hands of the West. वो बेचारा फालतू में पिसे जा रहे हैं चक्कर में, ठीक है? किसी ना किसी दिन चाइना विल बीट ऑस्ट्रेलिया ब्लैक एंड ब्लू. वी हैव टू वेट एंड वॉच दैट, ठीक है? Rest all is not important from the exam UPSC point of view or group 1 point of view. Now come to the business page, next page. 2-3 articles important. The first, policy certainty, transparency critical for asset monetization. This was in news. National monetization plan, NMP, was in news. People who do not know, National asset monetization plan. National asset monetization plan. Monetization plan. Basically, through this platform, the central government was saying that whatever my assets were idle, I will use these assets to generate some revenue. So this was the asset monetization plan which the government had in picture. So for example, there is a land which is set 50 acres or 60 acres which belongs to the central government. The government can lease that land to somebody so that some money will come to the government as part of some revenue. So that is why this article is saying the policy certainty and transparency are very important if this national asset monetization plan has to succeed. Okay? So it is a hard news relating to one scheme that was launched by the government in the past. He is trying to link that with this. The second article is bad bank to kick off the NPA takeover in July. Now again you go back and read what is a bad bank, what is a NPA. All these things will be taught to you, don't worry, in the classroom setting. But now that you, if at all somebody is wanting to start the newspaper, they have to do this homework. What is a bad bank? What is an NPA? What is now the government saying that it has established something known as, what is the first line? The National Asset Reconstruction Company Limited. The National Asset Reconstruction Company Limited. It will take over these bad loans of the bank. So loans to the tune of how much amount? 500 crores will be initially taken off. There are so many things to be linked in economy. When that particular chapter comes, that time we will see about this. Okay? These are the two important what you call news in the business paper. Now you come to page number 10, news, that is the national news. Any important article you see? Jamiat moves Supreme Court to dismiss plea against the Place of Worship Act. This Place of Worship Act and other dimensions related to it, I will ask CSR sir to take a detailed class on that for you. Okay? Because it is a very big topic. 2.5-3 घंटे का topic है. Place of Worship Act and all. Very much in news because of this Gyanvapi mosque wala conundrum which has happened. Okay? Other than that, there is no important article what I can see. Now come to page number 9, news again. Just see, 70% of the paper is not for us, right? Yeah. Anything here in page number 9? Thankfully nothing. Thankfully nothing in page number 9. Come to page number 8. Yeah, the defense projects. See, anything related to defense procurement is very, very important. Defense procurement, anything related to this, when we cover the internal security class, we have a 3-hour session on this defense procurement. We'll talk about at length why the defense procurements are always in the limelight, why you always see corruption in the defense equipment purchases, why it is so, anybody? Why you always find Kargil war, when the Kargil conflict happened, it is not a war in the first place, it is a conflict. When the Kargil conflict happened, we purchased some coffins to bring back the dead bodies of the soldiers. In the coffins purchases also there was corruption. So मतलब people have stooped down to such levels कि वहाँ पर भी पैसा बनाने का मौका लोग नहीं छोड़. So that is the irony of India. So that is the reason why starting from 1947, when we started purchasing some defense equipment, whether it is a vehicle, the jeep, or it is a gun, it is an aircraft, any dimension of defense procurement, you have seen that there has been a corruption scandal attached to it. Now my question is, why is it so? Think of it. Why is it so? What could be the reason? The reason is the government will beautifully say the terms of procurement are confidential in nature, not to be shown to general public. Anything which is happening in hiding and the government is involved, 99% corruption hoga. Because under the guise of national security or national safety or secret of India, under these dimensions, the government says that the terms of agreement between the vendor and India are confidential in nature. हम किसी को नहीं बताएंगे. The moment किसी को नहीं बताएंगे, it means हम सब खाएंगे. So that is where you will find corruption happening in most of the defense purchases. Whether it is Bofors gun, whether it was Augusta Westland case, people have pointed finger against the Rafale also, whether it was what you call Tatra vehicles that were purchased, Mahindra jeeps initially that were purchased, all these witnessed corruption scandals in the past. So that is the reason why, biggest reason why. So now that is the reason why corruption comes under social issue. So that is how it becomes important from your UPSC perspective. When it is only pure procurement, it is from the internal security perspective. So they are saying that we are purchasing some things. You do not have to make a list of items that India is purchasing. No, that is not required from prelims perspective, mains perspective also. But you should know the process that the government uses to go for defense purchases, which comes under the policy called DPP, Defense Procurement Policy, that we will deal at length in the class. Okay? You need not make any note of what is purchased, what is the amount of money that the government is spending, not important, both from groups and what you call UPSC point of view, they will not be asked. Okay? That be very, very clear on that. Yeah. There was one article where the Prime Minister is urging the bank chiefs to make loan process easier. So again, this comes under governance and also a dimension of Indian economy, because banks come under the purview of the Reserve Bank of India, which happens to be the one of the important players in the economic landscape of our country. So that is where Indian economy dimension will also open up. They are saying that try to make the loans easier. So they are trying to talk about the credit availability or the credit flow, you can say, easier. If you make the credit flow easier for a common man to get from institutionalized credit, the lesser they will go to the pawnbrokers, because the terms of credit would be much more comfortable here. That's the intention, to improve the credit culture of the country, which comes under governance and Indian economy. Okay? Now, for example, watch IPL's next big battle royal. यूपीएससी सिलेबस में कहाँ है ये? नहीं है. दैट इज वाई यू आर नॉट रीडिंग दिस. ठीक है. मुंबई पुलिस इश्यू नोटिस टू राणा कपूर. छोटा सा एक आर्टिकल है नेक्स्ट टू ऑन द ड्रॉ. It is also not same page, page number 8. Page number 8, not important. We are not reading it. One article is this: strategic missile Agni 4 successfully test fired. Now you should know what is a strategic missile. You should know what is an intercontinental ballistic missile. What are the characteristics of an intercontinental ballistic missile? What is a strategic missile? What is the range of an intercontinental ballistic missile? How many of them we have? Where have we deployed them? All these dimensions you should be knowing. You should be googling and writing in your notebook. That is the essence. This is how you will have to read the newspaper. Okay? So this is how I want all of you to read the newspaper and accordingly make your notes. Now anybody having any doubts, they are free to ask. Now we can go back to this slide.
Sir, the Congress discuss Bharat Chodo Yatra plan. It is not.
Congress discussing anything is not important for India now. Why? Because they are not in power. Let them discuss whatever they want to discuss. We are not bothered. We are not bothered about Rahul Gandhi. We are not bothered about Sonia Gandhi. We are not bothered about Manmohan Singh now. We are not bothered about Congress government now. Because they are not in power. Let them do whatever they want to do. Because we do not follow shadow politics in India. So that's the reason why we do not, nothing will be asked. जब तक मोदी है कांग्रेस के बारे में नहीं पूछेगा. Don't do it. ठीक है? Getting it? Yeah. Anybody? Any doubt? Whatever we have discussed. See, initially it will take 5-6 hours. You cannot expect first day you covering the entire newspaper in 1.5 or 2 hours. It will take time. It will take time because you have to simultaneously make. अब notes में ना, one thing I have observed in the students, the designer color pens, making it beautification process. You are not school going kids. मेरे पास if somebody comes to me with that kind of notes, पहले तो मैं उसको डांटता हूँ. Why are you wasting time? That's what I said. It is always advisable. You write on the newspaper, take a snap, digitally try to save it. So in the leisure time, जब YouTube देखने का मन कर रहा है, YouTube की जगह पे you can keep flipping through these photographs during your leisure times. That's the intention of saying that. ठीक है? Yeah. What else? See, learn the art of paper reading as early as possible. If you make it in the UPSC, you can skip newspaper for life. But till such time you are aspiring to be a bureaucrat, you have to read the newspaper. Knowledge will pay you very well, and the knowledge and the opinion that you will develop over a period of time, it will come up only with newspaper reading. See, if I use this word in front of you now, say for example, this is the word. You get positive feeling or negative feeling? Negative feeling. अब उसने तुम्हारा क्या बुरा किया है? Now my question is, what wrong they have done directly or indirectly to you? थोड़ा धीरे बोलिए. Okay. He says that Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba are still under the patronage of Taliban. This is his statement. Perfectly correct statement. Now, in a country like India, which is democracy, right? What gives legitimacy to a government to rule in a democratic setup? Winning an election. With me? If you win an election, then you will put Modi on the Prime Minister's chair. If you do not win, you don't know who Modi is also. Right? Very clear the way I said, I don't know who is Rahul Gandhi. Because I am not bothered who is in the opposition. The same way in democracy you have an established procedure to identify who is the authority to rule. When there is no democracy, what is the procedure to confirm the authority of somebody to rule? My question is clear. जहाँ पे democracy है, वहाँ पे you are saying that this person contested the election, eligible to contest the election, contested the election, he won the election as per the procedure established by law, what is written in the constitution. So Modi became your prime minister. Imagine a situation, there is no constitution, there is no democracy in India. Now how will you choose who will be your leader? What would be that criteria that will justify that he is the authority to rule? No, I am not talking about kingship. I am not talking about kingship. There is no hereditary rule. There is no king, his son will become, no, not that. Other than that, it is the maximum acceptance, yes or no? Maximum people accepting, okay, you be our leader. Some way, there is some mechanism. This, if I have to establish my rule in Afghanistan, maximum number of people have to support me. Taliban wants to establish a government in Afghanistan. The Taliban is divided on so many lines. One line of division is terror line. The local terrorists hold some areas of ground as their influence of ground areas, where they will force the people to accept me as the leader. So if I have to establish my authenticity as central authority to rule Afghanistan, I have to take maximum people on my board. Yes or no? I said maximum acceptance. So in the pretext, if I am accommodating somebody on the lines that I have to get my legitimacy to rule, do I also become a terrorist? No, I don't become a terrorist, because I did not do anything wrong. I only took the support of these idiots just to justify that I am the authority to rule. I did not tell Jaish-e-Mohammed, I mean Taliban, did not tell Jaish-e-Mohammed, go and attack India. He did not tell Lashkar-e-Taiba, go and attack Pakistan. He did not tell. Taliban is one entity which is nationalistic. You have to understand what is a nationalistic entity. They feel that in my country people should only rule, there should not be any external influence. Every country has this right. They are a sovereign country, why an outsider should come and rule or dictate that who should be the ruler? But this is what America did for so many years. It decided who should rule Afghanistan. Now Taliban, to get legitimacy that Taliban is the legitimate entity to rule, it gave shelter to these things. Like this, in historically, it gave shelter to Al-Qaeda. So when the 2001 attack happened, America did not blame only Al-Qaeda, it blamed Taliban also, that you gave shelter to him. Taliban said, Baba, I need him, I did not give him any weapon, I did not give him any economic aid that you develop this weapon, and time to time I have been telling you that this idiot is planning something against you, then you rubbish the statement saying that, Arey wo Saat Samundar Par kab aayega? He cannot come. He kept on telling US, sir, he is planning something big in America, please be mindful of that fact. Not only he, India was also breaking his head till 2001 September 11. Okay, sir, something big is going to happen. There is no entity in the world that can enter America and launch a terror attack in America. US replied by saying this. When the incident happened, the first country US called was India. Then we said we are busy now. Because when we called you, you did not attend our call. When we told you the ground reality, you did not accept us. Not only me, this guy also told many a times, sir, he is carrying out similar attacks in Africa. He is using Africa as a testing ground to launch a similar bigger level attack in your country. Please be prepared for it. You are not ready to listen. So can you blame an entity that is taking the support? Taking support means doing nothing, so that they keep quiet and do not question my authority of rule over Afghanistan. And he did not do directly against anything. So if you have to develop this kind of opinion based on continuation learning, this is where the newspaper will come into picture. That is when you will not get carried away by the common narrative that goes across the society. to have your own opinion, which is an informed opinion, which is an opinion that is justified by facts and figures, and you do not get carried away by a narrative that is being given to the market to eat. Well, this is the narrative, you drink this narrative and accept over a period of time that this is the reality. So if that has to happen, you have to read the newspaper whether you are preparing for any competitive examination or not. This is the underlying principle. That is the importance of newspaper. When you start reading newspaper, you will realize that you are now able to see the real faces of some countries. The real faces of some countries. So that's why I keep on telling in my class, by the end of your course of 9 months to 10 months association with me, you will start hating United States of Bihar, America, because that is the reality. That will happen. It will happen gradually, it will happen naturally. Bhargavi may not agree with me, but it will happen. Okay? Yeah. Anybody else? Reading newspaper is a fundamental duty. Okay? Before going to sleep, ask a question to yourself, have I read the newspaper today or not? If not, get up and study, at least for 15-20 minutes. See what's happened. Next day you try to cover up if for some reasons you have not been able to cover. Okay? This, it is a finance for a year and a half. You have to do this finance. Okay? Or batao, anything else? Why that faces, morose faces? I am not a supporter of Taliban. Don't count me along with Taliban. Okay? I am not a supporter of Taliban. Don't worry. I have fought against him. Yeah. Anything else? But at some point of time, we all are victims of narrative. We all are victims of narrative. Not we. Countries are victims of narrative. Ideologies are victims of narrative. Left-wing extremism as an ideology, it is a victim of a narrative that they have been repeating year after year. So you will understand these dimensions when we progress more and more in our IR classes and internal security classes. Okay? So this is the end of today's class. Tomorrow I plan to take a overall view of international relations. How the world is like this, why the world is like this. I try to talk about some dimensions related to World War, some dimensions related to China, India in particular, to give you an overall perspective what is happening across the globe. Is that okay? अरे yes or no? अरे बात तो करो, अगर जिंदा हो तो बात करो, नहीं हो तो लेट जाओ, ठीक है?